Hi guys, due to the recent conflict between India and China at Galwan Valley, Indians would like to boycott the Chinese products to make them suffer economically. Is it really possible that we can boycott the Chinese products in our day-to-day life? And how much it will hurt the Chinese economically? Let's start with the import and export between these two countries. India is the biggest importer of Chinese consumer goods. India exports to China were 16.7 billion US dollars. China exports to India were 70.3 billion US dollars in the financial year of 2018 to 2019. Indian exports are mostly raw materials like cotton, rubber, pulses, minerals, and steel, which are not directly consumed by the Chinese customers. In the other hand, China's imports to India are electronic goods, smartphones, industrial goods, vehicles, solar cells, and essential paramedical products. In this, 60% of products are directly goes to the Indian customers. In our smartphone industry, 4 out of 5 best-selling smartphones are from China. These 4 brands combined dominate over 60% of the Indian smartphone market. On the other hand, 30% of India's automobile components came from China. And about 90% of the India's toy market is occupied by the Chinese products. Similarly, 50% of the demand in the country's bicycle market was made by China. Thus, some of the key sectors of the Indian economy are critically dependent on China alone. On checking Chinese investments in our tech space, a think tank associated with the Indian Council on Global Relations estimates 4 billion US dollar of Chinese tech investment in Indian startups, which are mostly on India's online shopping, money transfer, cab, learning, and food applications. Can't we just stop using these applications and go for another option? It's not that simple as it sounds, because many Indian and non-Chinese investors hold a majority control in most of these companies, making it difficult to classify them as a Chinese or non-Chinese, so which will backfire on Indian investors as well. Can we at least stop buying the products which are having the made in China tag? Yes, of course we can, but it won't work on all the products. Let's see an example. Xeon is an aircraft industrial corporation from China. It's a key supplier of components to Boeing, whose 737 MAX and 747 aircraft are the major part of Indian Airlines. Just because Xeon is a Chinese company, so can we boycott all the Indian airlines? In the times of globalization, where trade rules are being governed by World Trade Organization, any efforts to stop a systematic flow of trade between China by the Indian government will backfire us one way or another. Is there any attempt of boycott in the world history? Yes, of course. China itself tried to boycott all Japanese products in the early 1930s to protest against Japanese colonization. Similarly, US consumer forums tried to boycott French goods in 2003 because the French declined to send troops to Iraq post 9/11. Arab nations have also many times boycotted Israeli and American products because of their stand on Palestine. But in the end, none of the boycotts were successful and gone within a few weeks. The reason of failure is the flow of economy will break the chains made by emotions. So, let's finish with the key takeaways. China's export to India is around 3% and India's export to China is 5.3%. So, a trade war with China will hurt India too. As a consumer, we can try to reduce the purchase of Chinese products and look for an alternate Indian brands. India should negotiate with China to open their market for Indian services and finished goods, which will directly go to the Chinese consumers. This will close the gap of trade deficit.